What's up, you guys? Here we are back for another video. We're going to be going through the front row forward position this week. A lot more players in this one. There is a bunch with dual position as well, and it's going to be very interesting over the next two videos. So we've got here for the front rowers, and I actually have one for the second row, which we'll talk through in the next one. But as you can see, there's very limited options in the edge position. I'm speaking about all the guys available in the mids in the first one, so a bunch of them are dual position and might suit better in this edge role. As you can see, not too many great options there. So just keep that in mind when we're going through the front row forward one, just to make sure you know what's going on and you know where maybe you should pop them in the front row or the edge. And obviously you can just interchange. So maybe you have like a Toe Harris and a Crichton in the separate positions, and you're switching between them based on injuries and suspensions and whatever else. So anyway, we'll go through our best options in the front row, and very clearly topped by Tohu Harris, which I think is 100% a must-have. Plays in round 17, as you can see by the highlight there. So you have to have him in your side. I think he's super important just to bring in this week and just get him for the rest of the year. Doesn't miss any more games, which is awesome. So he's number one, clearly. To me, number two is Crichton. I think he's got the runs on the board. Obviously, we'll be playing Origin in this one. Should be okay for round 16, and you just miss him, hopefully, just miss him for round 17. The question will be, does he play off the bench? If he plays off the bench in Origin, you'd expect sort of 30 to 50 minutes, somewhere there, and him backing up for the Roosters the next week. So I think he's really important. Obviously, hopefully just missing one more week for the rest of the year, apart from suspensions or injuries and stuff like that. So he's clearly the number two option, dual position as well. Just get him in your side as soon as possible. I think a lot of people, well, most people would have him at this stage. Isaiah Papali'i will be number three for me, and averaging the same as Crichton. Across the season, obviously had a really, really strong start and has come back with a couple of really strong weeks, the last two especially, which has been great after having the 1 to 2 odd lighter weeks. But as we've seen with Crichton, he's also had a bunch of those weeks as well. So Papali'i will miss one more game for the rest of the season in round 17 when they have the bye, but he's dual position as well, and I feel like he's someone that everyone needs in their squad. As you can see, over this front row forward position, they're the only three guys that are averaging over 60, and the only ones that are anywhere close to 60. Our next one's going to be Payne Haas, and we'll go into a little bit more detail in him this time. But averaging 57 at a 663 price tag is really interesting because he started so high and his price point up in the 900s. You've seen a big drop from him and a rolling 5-game average, a lot lower than what you may expect from him. As you can see here, he's got 41, 51, 34, 48, and 58 in his last 5. And that's why you get him at a massive discount, right? With Payne, again, should only be missing that 1 week. The forwards seem to, because they're playing a few less minutes, and depending, he played a big one in round 13, but for him, he obviously, came back and played 14 and still played some decent minutes there. So with him, we need to look at his scoring and what's happening at the moment. When he first came back, he had, averaged really strongly. He's got 3 70s in there, a bunch of 50s and a 60. To then have some lower ones, and we need to look at what's going on here. We look at his tackles, and they've gone down a lot, so that's really interesting to see why that would be happening. They're not a team that's been absolutely dominating, and he's not needing to tackle as much. But also on the other side, his run meters has been down too. So it was good to see the previous game where he got 41 tackles and 176 meters in a game where they got smashed 46-0. Will this be something to come? Does he need a bit of a rest in between Origin games? Is that maybe he didn't run the ball as much or tackle as much in the lead up to Origin? We can't even really tell. The good thing is with Haas, he has the runs on the board, as we've said with the previous guys, and he's going to do a job for you. That 57 average, I think he can get to that at worst. He can get that, and he has the opportunity to go even bigger than that. Obviously, if you're looking at their next 5 opponents, he'll play Cronulla this week, misses the Tigers one, and then he'll have Penrith, Cowboys, and Newcastle, which are all just fairly normal games for him, especially against the Cowboys and Newcastle, Cronulla. That should be a little bit closer games. Penrith might be resting people in that return game. So for me, him there, Payne Haas, he's in the top 100, he's owned by 10%. Top 5,000, he's owned by 35%. So not a big pod, but I think someone who, if you don't pick up, you could get left behind. Let me know what you guys think on that opinion there, guys. So that's our number 4th option in there. So obviously the 3 top ones, but remember one or two of them might be your top guys in the edge with a Fafita or something like that. So that's that there. My fifth best option is going to be Luke Thompson. So our next best average, and he plays round 17. There's really nothing else to go along with that. I think he's going to average in the mid-50s all year. He's a nice price at 657, so under what the 54 average would be. And he's going to be really solid in your squad, and I don't see anyone here that's going to be better than him at this stage, other than possibly Lolo, who is your number 6 pick there. So Lolo with an average of 46 currently is super, super low, but it's super low. Wow. That's where my brain went. So Jason there with a really, really low price point of 618 after losing a couple 100K and being a 64-point scorer last year. So what we need to look at is he a chance of improving back to those scores? He had a sin bin game. He also had a low minute game at 54 minutes and just didn't do too much and had a bunch of missed tackles and errors there for 39. But to get 51 in his 58 minutes is a good return, which the biggest part for me was the 6 tackle breaks, and that's a very normal game for him. 6 to 8 tackle breaks across the years there. 4 at a minimum there, and then the odd 6 to 7 to 8 as you go along there. So with Jace, there's every chance he gets back to that. If you are thinking about picking up him, especially, I think you can wait another week. So he still has a very high break even. I think you pick him up for round 17. I think that's probably the best time to pick him up would be round 17, as he still has a little bit of cash to lose, and it'd be nice to see if he can actually score well again, as he's only really had one good game this season. So I think he can get back to that. It'd be nice to see him get back to his offloading and tackle busting best, but who knows if that's how he's going to be, if that's how Toddy Payton wants him to play or not. I'm not exactly sure, but I think I'd rather take a risk on him that he can at least average 50, being priced a fair bit lower than that, rather than picking up someone like Jackson, who's our next option, where I think Lolo has a little bit more upside. Jackson is my next one, who's also playing round 17 at a 53 average. You can't really complain with that. He hasn't played a lot of games this season, but the ones he has played, he's only got 2 games in the mid 40s, and the rest of them are 50 plus and a really solid average there. So I personally am not going to pick him Jackson up, but I think a bunch of people have, and a bunch of people will, just for his consistency and him playing 17. So I'll be picking Thompson over Jackson, but at that slightly increased price, I probably wouldn't have both. But he's another option that could be decent for your squad. Mo Fotuaika with a nice average there. He had a lower game on the weekend, but the last month or so he's been incredible. So I think if you can get him into a rich vein of form going into the last bunch of rounds of the year, then I think he's really worth bringing into your squad. So I think wait and watch for him around 18, 19. I think if he scores really well in 18 or 19, then he could be a pickup. Or if one of these guys gets injured, then he could be a good one to pick up in your squad. Josh Papali'i then at 51.7. He's had a bit of an up and down year. Definitely not his best year ever, but he's someone who's a 55-point scorer on his day. So if we can get him around that price or a little bit lower after Origin, I think he's someone to keep on your watch list. Actually, I forgot to do Power with his little color there, because he also plays in 17. So 51.2 average for Marty at 648K. For me, he is someone that has had a decent run of form the last sort of 7 odd weeks after a little bit of a slower start. And for me, I think you're not going to get much of a higher average than what he is right now. So again, if you're thinking of someone like that at that similar price, he's done really well. And that's why in the last bunch of weeks is why his price is a fair bit higher. You could get someone like Jackson if you want that average, consistent average at 53 there. I think you just pick up Jackson at the lighter price than you do to Power at 648. So that's my thoughts on him. Murray, so someone who has the opportunity the ability to score a 55, 56 average, has had a few lower games this year. And if he can get back to really strong big minutes like he played that recent game, now everyone's like, oh, picking him up, then I think he could be a good option in round 19 or something like that as well. But I don't think it's worth picking him up at this stage, as most of us have sort of a Crichton-Harris-Pat combo. And then it's selecting the guys like Payne Haas. Do you pick a Thompson or a Lolo in the next couple of weeks? That kind of stuff there. And our last one there is Barnett with 52.9 average. And I guess the risk with him is that his average is going to fluctuate, or his scores are going to fluctuate depending on where he gets put in the team. If he plays 80 minutes on the edge, he's been a really strong performer. If he gets 50 minutes in the middle, it's just not enough minutes. So yes, he's moved into the middle, more tackles and stuff like that, but he's a more damaging ball runner on the edge, and I think that's his best position. So if he keeps that for the rest of the year, which I don't think he will, he'll be great. If not, I don't think he's a great option. So anyway, he's somewhere in there at a nice average that I had to definitely include there. But that's your front row forwards, guys. Again, let me know what you think based on my order, that 1 to 7 there, as my sort of best options. Who are the guys you're targeting? What are you trying to do with your squads in the front row position? Are you trying to pick a bunch of these guys in the second row and with a Fafita combo and go from there? How much cover you're going to have in the front row on the edge? Let me know. But please do like and subscribe if you're enjoying. Best way to support me, and we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Have a good day.